Back in 2018, the Washington Capitals and captain Alexander Ovechkin won their first Stanley Cup. And ever since then, I would definitely say things have been pretty disappointing for the team. Now, don't get me wrong, they still have been a fantastic regular season team in each of the past two seasons. In 2018-19, finished first in the Metro with 104 points, and if all 82 games were played this season, would have had well over 100 points again. The disappointing aspect of things definitely has not been the regular season, it's been the postseason. Now, back-to-back first-round exits for the Washington Capitals, this year coming in just 5 games to the New York Islanders and to their former head coach Barry Trotz. I'm sure none of the Washington Capitals players will lose sleep about losing to their former head coach in the first round, but I bet you the front office of Washington hated losing that series with every fiber in their body, and losing that series to the Islanders ultimately led to Washington firing former head coach Todd Reirden. The search for a new head coach is one of two reasons why I think Washington is in for a super interesting offseason, that and of course the huge question marks surrounding Braden Holtby's unrestricted free agency and just the uncertainty there. There really is a lot to talk about when it comes to this Washington Capitals team, and not only just surrounding this offseason for them, but we can already start looking towards next offseason as well, where Alexander Ovechkin is set to become an unrestricted free agent, which I think is going to be crazy if he doesn't sign an extension before then. So yeah, I figured the Washington Capitals would be the perfect team to make a video on. Be sure to let me know down below in the comment section which team you guys want to see me talk about next. Be sure to leave a like on the video, that is the best way to show your support, it definitely helps out the channel. And as always, if you guys are new and you want to see more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And one last thing before we get into the video, I actually uploaded on my gaming channel yesterday, so if that is something that interests you, links will be down below in the description. And now let's get into the video. I want to start off the video by talking about the head coaching situation a little bit. After firing Todd Reirden, this is what Washington Capitals GM Brian McClellan had to say. "We have an experienced group, we need someone to come in and push some buttons on some players, some good players. I think one thing that happened for us in the bubble is our structure didn't seem to be there. We couldn't find team structure. I know individuals were working hard individually, but as a team structure resulted or was a big cause of our performance in Toronto. We're going to need someone that can come in and establish that as a big part of our identity." Now, the part where he says somebody to come in and push some players' buttons, some good players, that really interests me, especially now that we have learned Mike Babcock and Gerard Gallant have already interviewed for the head coaching job of the Washington Capitals. As we all know, Mike Babcock has no problem whatsoever pushing buttons of players he is coaching. I mean, we heard some pretty crazy stories of him taking it way too far in his tenure with the Maple Leafs. This is just my opinion, but I don't really see Mike Babcock as being the right guy to be the next bench boss for the Washington Capitals. I'm just trying to picture Alexander Ovechkin playing in a Mike Babcock system. I don't think that's a fit at all. I know Mike Babcock is a very famous head coach. He is a very decorated head coach, but he's also very old school. I would prefer Washington goes out and gets Gerard Gallant, who's a more modern coach, did a fantastic job with the Vegas Golden Knights. Any Washington Capitals fans watching this video right now, go down to the comment section and let me know who you guys want to see as the next head coach of your favorite team. It could be somebody completely different than Gerard Gallant and Mike Babcock, of course. Another name that I saw linked to the head coaching spot for Washington is Peter Laviolette. It literally could be anybody. I just wanted to talk about Mike Babcock a little bit specifically because, I mean, first of all, it's Mike Babcock, and just because of how rough things ended for him in Toronto, it's kind of interesting to see his name kind of back out there as being a potential head coach again. Anyways, that's enough about that. Let's now move on to the other big thing when it comes to the Washington Capitals and this offseason, and that is Braden Holtby's free agency. So first off, let's talk a little bit about Holtby. I think we can all be honest and say he wasn't very good this season, had a good record, 25-14-6, but when you are the goaltender of a team like the Washington Capitals, who are usually so dominant in the regular season, you're most likely going to have a good record. His individual numbers, not very good whatsoever, an .897 save percentage and a 3.11 goals against average. So at the age of 30, do the Washington Capitals bring Braden Holtby back? Well, they definitely have the cap space to. However, I honestly think it might be best for Washington if they part ways and they let let Braden Holtby go test free agency and sign somewhere else. And the biggest reason why I do say that is because obviously they have Ilya Samsonov, who just had a great rookie season, just 23 years old, a 16-6-2 record, a .913 save percentage, and a 2.55 goals against average. Samsonov looks like the real deal. He's going to be the man in that Washington crease for many years, and I think maybe it's time you just hand over the reins to him as the full-time starter. If that does happen, and the Washington Capitals do decide to move on from Braden Holtby, well then they would have just under $9 million in cap space to play with this offseason. I'm sure they'd use some of that to get a better backup than Phoenix Copley for Ilya Samsonov. Realistically, they could make a pretty big splash in free agency. They already have their top 6 forwards all under contract for the 2020-21 season. Ovechkin, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Oshie, Wilson, and Jacob Vrana. A lot of their depth guys are still under contract as well. Garnet Hathaway, Nick Dowd, Richard Panik, Carl Hagelin, Lars Eller. They don't really have much to worry about in terms of, oh, we gotta re-sign this guy immediately. Jonas Siegenthaler is an RFA, but it really shouldn't be difficult at all to get a deal done there. And overall, I just feel like they're in a good spot. They don't have much to worry about this offseason. That is, of course, if they are okay with losing a guy like Braden Holtby. And like I said, I honestly think they should be okay with it. Whatever team ends up signing Braden Holtby, I feel as though they will probably overpay for him. And I think a lot of people would probably agree with that statement just because he's a big name. I mean, we saw what happened when Sergei Bobrovsky hit the open market last summer. Florida gave him a ridiculous contract. And just to clarify, no, I am absolutely not saying that I think Braden Holtby will get a contract similar to the one that Sergei Bobrovsky got. That would be absolutely insane in my opinion, but I would not be surprised if there's a team out there that is so desperate for a #1 goaltender and they throw, say, $7.5 to $8 million a season at Braden Holtby, and I think that's an overpayment. Anyways, at this point, it's kind of just a guessing game. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens. I am curious to hear Washington Capitals fans' thoughts on Braden Holtby. Do you want the Capitals to re-sign him? Are you like me and do you think they should let him walk in free agency? I know for a lot of Capitals fans it probably would be really tough to see Braden Holtby leave just because of the emotional attachment there, how he's been such a big part of the team for such a long time, and obviously won a Vezina Trophy with the Capitals, a Jennings Trophy, and of course the Stanley Cup. But anyways, that is enough on Braden Holtby. The last thing I wanted to kind of touch on in this video about the Washington Capitals is sort of my expectations for this team heading into the 2020-21 season. Now, obviously, a lot of that relies on what they do this offseason, but for me, most of it relies on what is Alexander Ovechkin going to play like next season. He's 34 years old now, and there will come a time where we see a big drop in production and performance from him. I mean, it's just human nature. He is a beast and hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down just yet. I mean, 48 goals this season in just 68 games, tied for the league leading goals, split the Rocket Richard with David Pastrnak. Like, realistically, would anybody be surprised if Ovi scores 50 again next season, if he wins another Rocket Richard? I'm sure nobody would be surprised by that, but I could also see a scenario where we do see a slight drop in performance and he maybe scores only 25 goals and puts up 50 points. I wouldn't bet on that though, just because he's seemingly aging like fine wine. If I had to make a prediction, I mean, as long as Ovechkin is still the Ovechkin that we have become so accustomed to watching next season, then I don't see a scenario where Washington isn't a top 3 team in the Metro Division again, as long as they stay healthy and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, I've pretty much touched on everything that I wanted to when it comes to the Washington Capitals in this video. Hopefully I didn't just jinx them, predicting them to be good again next season. It seems like lately whenever I make a prediction, the opposite thing happens to what I predicted, and I've made a habit of jinxing teams this season, but we'll see what happens. So Caps fans, how are we feeling about this team moving forward into the future? Like I said, I think they are in, a pretty good spot. I wouldn't really look too much into Alexander Ovechkin's free agency next summer or next offseason. If I had to make a prediction on that, I definitely think he's going to stick with the Washington Capitals. He just seems like a lifer with them, kind of like what Sidney Crosby is with the Penguins. Like, I could not see either of those guys playing for another franchise. That is going to do it for the video. Be sure to let me know all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section. Who do do you think is going to be the Capitals' next head coach? What do you think is going to happen with Holtby? And just your overall thoughts on the team moving forward into the next couple of seasons. Of course, if you did enjoy today's video, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support. And as always, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys all in the next video.